Ishwaraya Namaha. Om Mahasaraswati Namaha. Om Narayanaya Namaha. Om Namah Shivaya Namaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namaha. Om Namo Venkateshaya Namaha. Om Namo Anjaneyaya Namaha. Om Shri Shirdi Vasaya Namaha. Today is Friday after completing Lalita Sahasranama Stotram and Shri Shirdi Sai Baba's success. The inspiration has come.
Communication with awareness. This is very interesting and subtle topic to be understood properly with awareness together by all the concerned. Generally, we think communication is talking or speaking with somebody. It is only one side of communication. Communication should be in totality. When we are doing communication, we should do and be very well aware of the fact that we should communicate within ourselves first. If I cannot communicate with myself, then how can I communicate with others? This is the basic analysis that we have to take up together with the awareness. The etymological meaning of communication is wonderful. Communication. Come means sight, noise or voice, travel or movement from one organ to another organ of the body, like eye to eye, mouth to ear, mind and intellect. Uni means unity of unification. Unity or unification. All these words goes to say that there should be an absolute unity in whatever we do, unless and otherwise it is understood properly by all the people together in the same way. It has to be understood. Then only communication with awareness is possible. Let us go to the next step. Basically, communication is of two types. Number one, internal communication, that is within the human being. External communication, that is from one human being to many other persons. It can be verbal communication like speaking or listening, or it can be communication by writing and reading, or it can be communication in silence. Internal communication. Let's now concentrate on internal communication. Internal subtle communication gives the insight to awaken the dormant or hidden or subtle soul, Chaitanya, Atman, or seat of the soul or Ruh within the human body. This internal communication is subdivided into two. The silent communication without speaking, but by subtle listening, like all parts of the within, from the brain, mind, heart, lungs, liver, and all other internal parts, including nervous systems, through the blood flow, oxygen carrying in a subtle way all the impulses without audible sound or speaking, but of course in a subtle way. Case A, only listening through impulses by conscious mind or with conscious mind from the self or the Atman or the Ru or the Chaitanya or the soul or the spirit or the heart or the very subject within. Case B, the other aspect of the process is the speaking. Listening cannot take place without a speaker. So, speak to or talk to the self or the Atman or the Ru or the soul or the Chaitanya or the heart or subconsciousness or the seat of the soul. So, what we should try to understand together is listening by conscious mind from the self, from the seat of the soul. In case A, in order to do this process, the first process is we have to surrender our mind or ego. Unless the mind is in silence, it's not prepared to listen. Once the ego is surrendered and the mind goes to silence, then we can listen to the absolute truth from the soul or the Atman or the Ru or from the heart or from the seat of the soul. The acid test whether we are listening to the seat of the soul or the Atman is it will always say the same truth consistently. It will not change from time to time. It will not change its truth or consistency. That's the beauty of the message that comes from the heart or the Atman or the seat of the soul. It will never be inconsistent or unstable or change its message according to the convenience or selfishness or the biased opinion. Because it is totally unbiased or it is totally unselfish or it is totally equanimous, there will not be selfishness at all in the message from the heart or the Atman or the God or the seat of the soul within, even though the ego or the mind doesn't like it. Even if it hurts, one gives sorrow or unhappiness or displeasures. It will be repeatedly saying the same with stability and confidence and consistency because it comes from the absolute truth or the absolute awareness. That is the God within from the seat of the soul. So, that is the first part of listening. If the mind is not calm or it is not dwelling in silence, it's not a clean slate to receive the message from the heart, then there will be a conflict in the communication and it will not receive the message as it has to be received from the seat of the soul because there is always a conflict between the mind and the heart. It is just like traffic. When there is a traffic signal, when there is traffic signal or when there is not a traffic signal, then we should understand the difference. When there is no traffic signal, then the pedestrians or the people who go on transportation will not be controlled or governed by a particular discipline, thereby accidents or accident will happen. So there is a collision. In the same way, if the mind is not silent, there is a collision between the conscious thought process and from the absolute awareness the message which is to be communicated to the conscious mind, so the mind will not receive it as it has to be received. So that is why the first and the foremost process in the communication is to make our mind a clean slate, to make it calm and quiet without any prejudiced notion, and be prepared to listen with an open mind. Absolutely, whatever message comes from the seat of the soul, that is listening. The moment you have something already written on the slate, then it will be overwritten and you cannot read it properly. We should be very, very, very careful and attentive and awareful in this aspect. The moment you have some prejudiced opinions or thoughts in the conscious mind, then the mind is really not listening with a clean slate, with the clean awareness, but it is trying to listen with some prejudiced notion or experience. So, with the result, we will not be in a position to really listen. So, the first and the foremost aspect in communication is within. We should try to absolutely listen from the seat of the soul what it is trying to communicate. In case B of internal communication, the second stage is a dialogue from the mind with ego, with selfishness, desire, or expectation. Little ego or little expectations or little selfishness, without which we cannot be starting or will not be in a position to start this process of communication at all. Let us be practical and realistic. And we are not sannyasis, or we have not relinquished everything in the life. So let us accept that we are all normal human beings, and let us start this exercise of communication with little ego, with little expectation, and with little selfishness. At least selfishness to listen. Remember this. If we really listen with the conscious awareness of the mind, then we will try to discriminate with our mind, dropping selfishness, dropping ego, dropping expectation or biasness. Then we will try to accept the message from the subconscious or the Atman or the Ru or the seat of the soul, because we had that trust after discrimination, and then during this process we of course do a lot of transactions by way of internal communication with the self, that is from the conscious mind to the subconscious heart, conscious ego centered mind to the subconscious egoless Atman or the self. It is just like seeing the sunlight with our eyes. The sunlight is so pure and effulgent and powerful, where our eyes are not 100% fit to receive the sunlight, depending upon the eyesight and depending upon the capacity of the eye, it will receive the light in its own individual, unique way. It is one's own individual experience. It is like a sinusoidal wave in electrical terminology.